And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business once again with a showdown between my Bretonnia, who shall be led by King Lewin. And today, my friends, we face off against King of the Dead and his dreaded Norscan. So it's going to be some mammoths versus peasants. Always a fun showdown, seeing one of the weakest units in the old world getting trampled by giant, angry feral mammoths. Now, as far as the build goes, we're basically just going to be throwing peasant mobs in the front line because I feel like, I used to go battle pilgrims in this front line, kind of use them to hold, but man, you can get so much value. Peasant mobs are only 100 gold. Battle pilgrims, I think, cost 600 or 700. I think they're like 600, like right on the dot. But yeah, you can get 6 peasant mobs for the cost of 1 battle pilgrim. And honestly, the peasant mobs, they still have a ton of HP to get through. And with Bretonnia in this matchup, I don't really like throwing my quote-unquote good infantry against berserkers and marauders and mammoths. So I feel like you might as well go peasant. So in total, we do have 5 peasant mobs, I think. Yeah, 5 peasant mobs. We do have a couple men-at-arms just to get a little bit more holding power once the peasants do break. That's pretty much it. And the main core of the build is going to be using a ton of archers. So in total, we do have 6 archers, 2 of which are poison archers. You don't need to have every archer be a poison archer. It's a little bit overkill. Just 1 or 2 is fine because, yeah, you might lose 1 to some random circumstance, but having 1 backup is really nice. And ever since Bretonnia did, of course, get their buffs, so essentially how it used to work is that the pox arrows, which do, of course, do poison damage, you would have some Grail Knights surrounding an enemy monster, and the peasants would friendly fire your Grail Knights and apply poison to them. So really, poison was just, yeah, it just wasn't great. So now they've actually changed it so the poison doesn't friendly fire your own units, which I think, obviously in terms of a practical sense, it doesn't make a lot of sense in that way, but in terms of gameplay, I do think it's good. It definitely was a much needed buff to Bretonnia. So in the back, we got peasant archers into the sunset, a lower manticore summoning caster here with the manticore and flock of doom. We got 2 knights of the realm and 2 grail knights. So grail knights are going to be hiding in the trees, and I love grail knights in this matchup, man. They absolutely destroy skin wolves. Skin wolves, of course, do have physical resist. These guys do magic damage. They get around that. They have anti-large, perfect vigor, a massive charge bonus of 78. Grail knights, I think, are aces in this matchup for sure, because they're like blood knights in the sense that they can also shock damage down things like marauders and can be very effective in those trades. So yeah, I like these bad boys. 2 of them in total. That's pretty much my build. King Lewin's going to be coming in. My whole game plan is basically to fly Lewin over the head of the mammoths when they engage, use the Sword of Couronne to lower their armor to 40, and just nuke them with peasant bowmen. So we'll see how it works out. So for King of the Dead, no surprises here. He's going to be coming in with a bunch of Warhounds. It's his classic signature playstyle here. In total, he does have 3 of those. So definitely have to be very privy. I kind of figured he would have hounds trying to flank me, so I hid Grail Knights in both trees, really hoping to ambush him and get the good jump, but he is a cunning foe indeed, and I'm sure he'll be able to discover that. His front line's marauders. He's got 2 mammoths, Wolfric, as well as a feral mammoth, Skin Wolf Werekin, a Deathcaster to cast the Buna on my elite knights, and that's partially why I didn't invest in the elite, companions, though they are very good. I feel like they just get Buna down, and I guess Grail Knights are kind of the same thing, but he's got 2 Skin Wolves and Icehorn Marauders, and that's it, man. So definitely a scary Norscan build. Typically Bretonnia does have trouble bringing down the big mammoths, unless you can isolate them with Grail Knights in open field, but even still, Big Chungus here, Wolfric does have 70 armor, so yeah, it can take some time for those Grail Knights to really do the trick. So the hordes of Norsca are advancing on my brave peasants. These guys are ready to go, so going to be going for a charge here, trying to get the Grail Knight freebie here, but King does pull back. And on the far side, we are going to be sending in our Grail Knights as well. Now, they were hidden in the trees, so he didn't have much time to react to this. So here, the Grail Knights are going to be getting a fully couched charge right there on those Norscan Warhounds, which is great. As far as the frontline fighting goes, just pulling back with the peasant mobs, trying to drag these marauders through the fire, while King Lewin also attacks them. And we do have a frontal charge coming from the Knights of the Realm, so it's going to be a pretty dicey affair, but nonetheless, we're getting a lot of free damage. Marauders are down to 74 models, peasant bowmen are helping. Their backs are now turned to the firepower as well, so shields don't work if your backs are turned, obviously. So now King is going to be sending in his goodies. I do, of course, have some Knights of the Realm here, but I'm going to have to sacrifice them to get away here. King Lewin does get afflicted by the Hunter of Champions and takes some really, really big damage, so quite sad about that. Nonetheless, Grail Knights fending off hounds here, and up on the high ground, I was able to get some Grail Knights to jump on those Skin Wolves, and look how one-sided that fight was, even with the support of Marauders, just an absolute beating. So yeah, the Knights of the Realm that I did send in definitely took quite a hammering, which is okay. We were able to get some Skin Wolves in the process, so we've had a bit of an even trade. And right now, King obviously known for his Hound Micro and just really harassing back lines. I'm just trying to do my best to keep his Norscan Warhounds off my back line. So now 1 Mammoth is coming in, so the Sword of Couronne combo is active. So the Feral Mammoth is going to be down to 0 armor. I do summon a Manticore and go for a big Alpha Strike. So in total, I think we have about 5 or 4.5 groups of archers shooting at this bad boy with Sword of Couronne active. His melee defense is super low, which means the Manticore and King Lewin are just going to be going deep. So taking out a Mammoth this early in the game is super nice, and that thing is going to shatter. It's not going to come back. But, King does have a nice response here. He is able to get some of the premier condom brand of the old world, the Skin Wolves here in the back line. And a really nice Sea Fang as well. Look at that, tearing apart those peasant mobs. So I instantly lose 2 groups of peasant archers, which is very scary. Granted, these Grail Knights were able to do the work of the lady and take out these doggos back here. So just trying to free up my archers one step at a time. But man, there's so many hounds and werewolves and all sorts of scary things running around the battlefield here. So now back in the epicenter of combat. All of my archers have switched on to Wulfric, and Wulfric is much tankier than a Feral Mammoth. I believe Feral Mammoths have very low armor values compared to Wulfric, who does have 70. Sword of Crone is on cooldown, and I did take some really, really big damage with King Lewin. So Lewin's going to have to pull back here. But we are going to be dropping the second Manticore summon to go in and try and take out Lewin. I have forgotten about some Knights of the Realm back here, which I believe were chasing some hounds or something or other, and then I just forgot to give them another order. So those guys will be very nice once I do discover that they're actually back. But back in the main combat here, Lewin is going to be going in, trying to get a terror out here on these Skin Wolves. Once their frenzy is gone, you can, of course, terror out them. So trying to push those guys off, but the Skin Wolf Werekin coming in, and there's the terror out there. I guess I didn't have too much follow-up, so maybe it wasn't the best play, but Flock of Doom is also going down. If you're going to go with a Manticore Summoner, typically you want to bring either Amber Spear and Flock of Doom, but in this matchup, I think Flock of Doom is very good against Marauders and Berserkers. But yeah, Louis having some trouble, man. King of the Dead coming in pretty hard with the big Mammoth, and Hunter of Champions is active, 615 HP. That is a big, angry boy. And some of the Grail Knights just riding about trying to get rid of those damn hounds. I feel like I've broken them like 100 times, but they always just keep coming back. It's like that Simpsons. You remember that Simpsons episode where they have Moe and then the, what's the drunk bar patron guy? Oh, the drunk guy who's always in the bar. I forget his name, but he like just reappears in the bar after Moe kicks him out. I feel like that's like King of the Dead and his hounds. Like you kick him out and they're just finding their way back in. So Lewin is broken. Balance of power is relatively even. I still think a little bit in my favor because the Mammoth is down. Right now I do have a Manticore summon, which is gooning his Shaman Sorcerer. That's going to get rid of his magic. And Wulfric is very beat up as well, and very beat up for Wulfric is still like 5,000 HP. But I still also have a lot of Knights, and I'm just using them to sweep right now, so I have 30 Grail Knights right here. I do also have 45 Knights of the Realm here, the ones that I was AFK with, but have now come back. Really good Seafang right there, but it's really just Peasant Mobs and Men-at-Arms. But the Knights of the Realm doing a good job, just kind of jumping on Marauders wherever they can, lancing these bad boys down for the lady. And you can see these guys got their pitchforks and shovels out, and they're going to be beating on some of them hoes here, quite literally with an actual hose. And yeah, Marauders definitely not having a great time. Wulfric is getting very low, and now you can see for the first time of the game, the balance of power is coming very, very heavily in the favor of the Noble Knights of Bretonnia, as Wulfric is just saturated with tons of firepower, including some poison fire. So that's going to be penalizing him in many ways. So here comes Knights of the Realm, chasing down that big boy. So even if Wulfric is able to get away from this engagement here, the Knights of the Realm should be able to lance him down. It feels like some Battle at Pelennor Fields action, and down goes Wulfric the Wanderer. So with Wulfric falling, and obviously not too much leadership left here, the caster is very low. I'll be sending some Men-at-Arms to fight him in just a second. King Lewin also did come back, so he's going to be coming in and flying overhead and dropping Sword of Corone on top of the Skin Wolf Werekin. We also have a ton of anti-large Knights on this guy. He's going to be breaking, especially considering he is poisoned right now. And that probably will be all she wrote for the noble Norskins here, as they are torn apart by the charges of those Grail Knights up in the high ground. And it looks like the Shaman Sorcerer of Death is going to be running for the hills. And of course, you can see the Sword of Corone. That's the thing about Lewin. If you guys are playing Bretonnia, trying to time Alpha Strikes with archers, you don't have to land him. You can fly him overhead, pop the Sword of Corone. You'll get all the benefits, and you don't necessarily have to put him at risk. Granted, oftentimes you do want to land him with that because he hits very hard. He's lowering melee defense as well. It's really cost effective. But yeah, this is a build I've had some success against Norskins with, because basically the thing is, the Grail Knights just absolutely dump on Skin Wolves, and Knights of the Realm actually do defeat them as well. So you have a really big advantage there, and also you can shock down infantry. Mammoths are a problem for sure, but if you have enough kind of, wide focus fire, and then Norsca goes with a narrow build like this, because this build, for all intensive purposes, is narrow. Double Mammoth, a couple single entities, and it's not like a super wide build that's going to be enveloping your archer lines. Now, if Norsca had come with a wider rush, I might have been in some trouble, maybe some Famir as well. I always feel like Famir are very tricky because they have missile resist and heavy armor, so Peasant Bowmen take like 10 years to bring them down. Granted, that's what Lewin's for. You can get in there with Lewin, summon Manticores and pound them, and then usually break them off and chase them with your Cav, but it's still hard, right? But yeah, this is a build I've been having success with, so if you guys are Bretonian players, you got some friends who like to play Norsca, give it a try. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you've had success with a similar build. But in general, man, Peasant Archers are just so good. The change to the Pox Arrows not doing friendly fire, it's like it's just game-changing, man. I remember like having Lewin fighting something. My peasants would shoot Lewin with poison arrows. His stats are nerfed, and like all the benefits you get are just like out the door. But in this case, it's definitely, it feels much more righteous for sure. So well played to King. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Bretonnian versus Norscan matchup. And that's it for now. Got a lot more Bretonnian games coming. I'm trying to like flesh out my The factions I've really been jamming on lately have been Empire. I'm trying to get good with Bretonnia, like competitive, so I can play them in tournaments. And also, of course, some Skaven. Yeah, I used to consider myself someone who really liked to play Vampire Coast, but with all the vitriol and hatred people have for them, I'm like, maybe I'm not as interested in playing them these days. And honestly, it does feel a little bit bad when Luther Harkin just like solos games and things like that. Granted, Coast can be beaten. We have seen them lose pretty bad in a couple of recent tournaments, so it's not like they're unbeatable. But I like playing the good guys. Bretonnia, Empire. Of course, like playing Dwarves situationally against like Tomb Kings. I've actually been playing a lot of Tomb Kings as well, which are great. But anyways, our rant's over. Well played to King. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this Bretonnian versus Norscan game, and we will be back with more content soon. You guys take care.